Warcraft is
Alright,
better.
everyone. Today I'm gonna do a little bit of reaction, okay? I wanna react to Asmongold reading this post here and to Pyromancer reacting to Asmongold. Now, since I don't have a YouTube channel, since I'm not monetized in any way, I'm pretty much absolved from the chain of reaction meme. But there is something that I have to say, I think, here, because I was trying to just look around Twitter, the WoW community, and see what's going on, and this seems to be one of the latest debates, heated debates of the moment. So I want to try to give in my opinion for what's worth.
When it was just a bunch of dudes fighting each other
now we're
and
gonna
having to deal
hear
with
about
mysterious
what
crap
Asmon
while
says
they
about
fought
this
each
post.
other. Humans,
Yeah.
dwarves, ogres, orcs, and trolls all have that vibe where they have to punch someone in the face, and it was awesome.
It's pretty
Then you look at the
simplistic,
lore
but
now. Yeah. I don't really care about the soap opera between a dozen or so characters. WoW was
yeah, he's right. Like, the soap operas are freaking awful, okay? We need more showing, a lot more showing, and a lot less telling.
never deep. Stop trying to make it be. It was just a bunch of dudes trying to survive a cold world where there's war every time, and it was awesome.
And it's not entirely wrong. Like, this is some really good storytelling, even if people will complain that there is not enough telling and it's a lot of showing. Let me put it this way: gamers, viewers, readers like to be entertained, and for entertainment to happen, there needs to be vigorous action, okay? So what people say, oh, that's toxic, that's masculine, that's actually, usually it's very fun. But let's keep listening. Oh, Pyro is laughing.
Then there's the people who are terminally online who can't separate reality for fiction.
Oh,
who
there's a
had
lot
to
of those
ruin
people.
the fun. They had nothing going on in their lives,
I
so
don't know
they
about
tried
that.
to better the virtual world made for entertainment to reflect their worldviews.
Oh, this is absolutely
Warcraft
true.
equals
One of my biggest gripes with the World of Warcraft setting is that every faction, every race, every single character from the first to the last is always being presented and observed from a modern moralism perspective. Everyone has to comply to modern perspectives. Let's take Troll, for example. If Troll thinks that an orc is more important than a gnome, then we will all say Troll is a fucking bigot, even though Troll is supposed to be the warchef of the Horde. He cannot serve in that capacity anymore because he has to abide by our morality and not the Horde morality. He's not allowed to do that anymore. So if Troll were to sacrifice a gnome to save an orc, he will get backlash from everyone. He will be cancelled. Cancel Troll.
boring in today's society, and I don't see it coming back because there's people at the top who have to just force their worldview through everyone's throats.
Which is true.
Know what I think? I think he's completely fucking right.
Yeah, mostly. Oh, Pyro, why are you
The
laughing?
gameplay's still good, but what does that matter whenever it's not Warcraft anymore?
This is really important. I say, well, yeah, the dungeons are fun, the raids are fun. Oh, cut me a break. We all know we're here for Warcraft, Warcraft. We want to see Warcraft characters do cool Warcraft shit, okay? We want to immerse ourselves in the world of Azeroth, not in the world of Activision Blizzard. Let me be very clear about this. Without the Warcraft setting, even if you don't care that much for it, World of Warcraft is nothing without setting. It's just a middling and honestly not even that great of an MMORPG where both the MMOs and the RPG parts of the title are now very much questionable. So the setting is incredibly important. It's the flavor of the game. It has to be preserved.
It's not. It's fucking cringe. It
Is very cringe sometimes.
I know.
Like, whenever they try to insert modern perspectives into World of Warcraft, it's always cringe. Always. You can have a faction of medieval humans and elves and a faction of savage orcs, taurens, trolls, who, like, 10 years ago were still half cannibals, and you try to adapt them to moral audience. You create some saccharinated, really flavorless nonsense. Let's move on.
Know that there's people that like the story nowadays. Well, guess what? You're wrong.
You know, we're having the schizo laugh again. Like, dude, just say something.
I
Don't
love
just
it.
laugh.
I love it. You know what's funny to me, I guess, is that
Yeah, I wanna hear.
I think a lot of the people that do like the story nowadays would be willing to hear and accept, to a degree, at least your perspective and your opinion.
I guess.
But
Used to be good. If you go and you watch the YouTube video that Platinum WoW did about how Tyrion Forgering left the Knights of the Silver Hand, and you compare the raw, unbridled masculinity of that to this pussyfooting around with Anduin, who's getting in his feelings because he got mind controlled. Holy fuck, man!
Oh my god, this fucking right, okay? Let's have a minute for it. Asmongold and the poster is reading are absolutely right. One is very low stakes, if we want to put it this way, because it's just about one guy, even though that guy ends up becoming pivotal in Wrath of the Lich King. The story about Tyrion Fordring, it's a very grounded, down-to-earth story of strength, betrayal, and the ability to stand for his own conviction and put everything that he is into jeopardy to abide by his code. It's a very good story. And about Anduin, oh boy, I love Anduin as a character, and I could go for a long while as to why I love Anduin. But let's be real here. The PTSD Anduin arc is possibly the worst storyline World of Warcraft ever freaking came with, okay? And I'm gonna tell you why right here, right now. Nobody relates to this artificial, ham-fisted, crappy, Marvelite attempt at forcing, not just inserting, forcing PTSD into Anduin's story, which amounts to an evil hell wizard wiggling his fingers going, "Whoa, you're evil now," and Anduin is like, "Well, I guess I'm evil now." And that's literally everything there is in the story. There are very little stakes, there is no character progression, there is nothing. You just got the light switch turned around and gone like, "You're evil." Then he got beaten to 1% of his life, because in World of Warcraft, how do we deal with corruption? We beat the shit out of you, we spank the devil out of you, and then we say, "Oh, I'm not evil anymore, and oh my god, I did so many bad things." This is awful, okay? This is the most terrible storyline. There is no fall of character, there is no stakes, there is no participation. Anduin doesn't even participate. It is the same thing as if the jailer pick Anduin, stuff him into a locker, tied him up, and he creates an evil twin of Anduin who goes and does all sort of vile, evil crap, and somehow we're supposed to think that Anduin is responsible or even involved in this? Spoiler alert, he's not, okay? That's why, "Whoa, you evil mind control story is the fucking worst." Then guess Blizzard writer just can't write any better right now. Like, okay, everyone is gonna think about Arthas now, because what other character had a fall in the game, except a few others, but Arthas had an amazing fall story, okay? Like, nobody's allowed to say otherwise. Arthas' story was actually a masterpiece of storytelling, and that's more to it. Arthas' story was a masterpiece of immersive storytelling. Why? I'll tell you why. Because you play as freaking Arthas, and that's an amazing medium to actually put yourself in the shoes of everyone's favorite paladin / Lich King necromancer. But that's how they did it. And you play Arthas and you see how the war that begins against the undead, which starts from a tiny little investigation with his girlfriend Jaina over some plague grain, actually escalates in the course of a very short time into a full-out losing war against the undead. And even as you go and win every mission and proceed in your campaign as a human, you realize that you actually losing the war pretty badly. And that's some really strong storytelling, because even as you win, as your units progress in Warcraft 3, so do the undead. And in every mission, there is always more undead than there is humans, and there are units. You are always put on the back foot. You are soon shown, not told, shown and leave the fact that it's a desperate losing war. Every time the Scourge plagues the city of Lordaeron, there is less Lordaeronian citizen, there are less of Arthas subjects, and there is more Scourge, which in turn means that there will continue being more Scourge and less Lordaeronians. This pushes Arthas into a powerful state of desperation, where he is a paladin, he wants to do good, but he also wants to save his people, and he realizes that the other guys, they don't understand how bad things really are right now. They don't understand it. They think that, oh, well, maybe we can keep fighting, whenever the undead show up, we fight them, and Arthas realizes, no guys, that's not gonna work. That's gonna be a slow, steady defeat for all of us. And Arthas had a lot of flaws, but he was a powerful character who could not persuade his allies to do what had to be done, because we all know that Stratholme had to be purged. And as you play as Arthas in the human campaign, and then you play again as him in the undead campaign, you realize that all he went through was an actually wonderful arc of storytelling, to the point that when you are in the Frostmourne cavern together with the dwarf, what's his name, Muradin, and you're sitting there and you're rooting for Arthas. You're like, pick up the sword, man, you have to do it. We have to turn this shitty war around. We have to do something, because you and Arthas know it had to be done. You and Arthas know that if you don't do something, if you don't take action, if you don't try to tilt the odds somehow, desperately, in your favor, nothing of this is gonna matter. You're all gonna die. You're all gonna turn into the undead, and the Legion will have won. If Arthas doesn't do what he does, the Legion just wipes out Lordaeron, creates a massive kingdom of Legion-affiliated Scourge, which is kind of different from what happens with Arthas, and they win. That's pretty much what it is. They have a base of operation that nobody in the Eastern Kingdoms will ever be able to contest. And I assure you that Legion-affiliated Scourge in Lordaeron will eventually just crawl all their way south, all the way to Strangletor, and all of a sudden, in span of a few years, you have a full continent of undead other than Northrend. So yeah, Arthas really did save a lot of people, even though he didn't plan to by the end of it. Even when he becomes undead, and he doesn't become undead because someone kills him. He becomes undead little by little. His heart stops beating as he wears the Death Knight armor, and as he wields Frostmourne, his soul, his will, his mind slowly, gradually fade to it. And even so, you can still feel Arthas' powerful conviction in everything he does, even as his emotions are drained away into Frostmourne. You see Arthas grow as a character, ironically. Arthas starts the second mission in the game, killing Kel'Thuzad as a minor nuisance. He goes slash, dies, full necromancer, and that's the end of it, Arthas. But by the end of the undead campaign, Arthas actually comes to regard Kel'Thuzad as a friend. And this is amazing storytelling. This shows you how profoundly his character changed, not for the better, for the worse, but it changed. You can feel it as you play it. Let's ignore everything that happens with Kel'Thuzad in the Shadowlands, of course. But now, let's go back to Anduin and why his corruption story is so fucking awful.
It's so lame. It's just, it's so
Oh my
lame.
god, more schizo laughter. Dude, that's psychotic. Calm down, chill, dude, chill. You can do it. Just use your words.
I mean, I get
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
I get the perspective, I think.
Who?
I guess Farak's not really.
Who the fuck cares about Firak? Literally nobody. Just some skinny ass lizard who larps as a Fire Lord. Literally nobody cares about Firak.
Very masculine, I suppose.
No, it's not. It's just some
He's too much in his
lanky
feelings
twink.
too, I guess, huh? He wanted to talk about his anger, didn't he?
Nobody cares
Yeah.
about his anger.
Right before he was about to sacrifice a world tree with thousands of night elf
Who gives a fuck about more world trees? Oh, come on.
souls in it, because he's literally insane.
Oh, literally evil. This is literally what I said. This, I'm evil because I am. And they don't hold one little tiny itty bitty candle to the real storytelling that WoW became a mainstream, the #1 MMO franchise in the world for.
Or Iridikron, who's exceptionally cunning and calculated and probably one of the most interesting villains in Warcraft's history.
He is calculating, but there is
Is
not a lot
also,
to
I
it.
think, an interesting example of masculine energy.
I don't know.
You'd have to pay attention to the story to be aware of those things, though.
I didn't play Dragonflight at all. But reading the story summarily.
Wouldn't you?
Here we go. He found it. Oh, thank God.
Pastarmando nasce da
Oh,
un patto
come
con una
on,
comunità di
YouTube.
agricoltori per coltivare grano di alta e selezionare.
Mal, it's always been deep. You seem to have never read any lore at all, like 80% of the player base. No, this is the problem, is that the lore was satisfying whenever you didn't have any information about it. It was just
He's right, okay? I'm just gonna interrupt very briefly to say that yes, the lore has to be palatable even on a surface level. Like when you read something, you cannot be expected to have read 20 books prior to enjoy what's being shown now, okay? If some guy decides, oh, well, I kind of like MMOs, let me try this Nightmare Within expansion thing, and he's showered with Anduin's PTSD, and he goes like, who's this guy? Why is he talking with this orc? I thought humans and orcs were enemies. What's going on here? And that's one freaking hell of a mess narratively, okay? A story needs to be smooth. It needs to be easy but deep. It needs to be both. Nobody say that's easy to make story because it isn't. But if you cannot make a story that is enjoyable both on a surface and on a deeper level, then you're not writing a very good story. Illidan, for example, he is like the epitome of this, okay? There is a lot of people who go like, oh, Illidan is such a cool character. I love him. Why? Because he's big, he's got tattoos, he's got warglaives, he goes slash, 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 die, full demon. And people can enjoy Illidan for that because of his unapologetic edgelordiness. And then there is the guy that can read 5 books about Illidan and going like, oh, he's literally me. Okay, Illidan is one character that is enjoyable on multiple levels. This mess with Anduin isn't really. Well, it's time we admit it this much.
it's cool on the surface level.
When was that? When is that?
I just said it,
Is
but
that? Do people think that's classic?
you can hear me, of course.
Because if you go back and play classic, you realize that a lot of this stuff is here.
But
Vanilla, Wrath, I think. I believe what he's referring to is everything is the power of friendship trope over and over.
oh, screw that trope.
I think that it has been a theme more recently to a degree, yes. Are we really going to call Anduin's story a story about the power of friendship? Like,
I guess so, because apparently he's just gonna hire Troll as his personal therapist, so what's it gonna be?
no, it's about PTSD and a support system.
It's not PTSD, it's ham-fisted fake PTSD. As I said before, Wizard going, "Oh, you evil." This is just Super Satan making you evil by force. There is no mental engagement like I've spoken about with Arthas, you can experience Arthas corruption. Anduin's corruption is not. It's just a light switch, flipped, you're evil. Oh, you've been beaten to an inch of your life. You're good. It's shit. It's not a story. It's shit.
So that you don't lose your fucking mind. Like, Anduin's story is literally about, like, going to war and having PTSD and regretting things you've done. And
Not real
questioning your own,
PTSD,
like,
and he has
darkness and
nothing
sanity
to
and shit.
regret.
Like, that's some of the most...
Anduin has nothing to regret. Anduin is a great character, especially, like, he starts as this infant, like, tiny little baby NPC that is the same as the blonde child NPC that you see in Goldshire, and is like this for 3 expansions, and then in Cataclysm he grows up, and you actually get to quest with Anduin. If you start the Twilight Lands chain, you get to escort Anduin around Stormwind, and it's a really endearing character, okay? You can feel his youthfulness, his eagerness to go, I'm the son of the king, I gotta make something of myself. I'm not powerful as Vyran is, I'm never be a Giga Chad warrior, dual-wielding blades like my dad, but I can help my way. Anduin is a really strong character when he's shown in-game. He's enduring, and he helps you uncover a conspiracy that would have blown up Stormwind, and is like, yeah, all in a day's work. You high-five Anduin, and then you leave, and it leaves a really strong taste in your mouth. But where Anduin was really done right, it's in Pandaria, where he gets lost in the island because of reasons, shipwrecks, mists, and yada yada, but he does not go back home, okay? Anduin is driven. Anduin says, I see what the factions are doing in Pandaria. They're messing everything up. I can do this better. There has to be another way. He pairs up with Ration and he says, me and you, we can change things, okay? We may have very different points of view, me, Anduin, and you, Ration, but together we can save the island. We can do some good here. And when some Alliance soldier comes to pick up Anduin, Anduin is so driven. He's so full of youthful conviction, and it's not fake, it's real conviction, because he sees and he acts. Anduin's actions in Pandaria are shown, not told. How he helps the local, how he tries to separate himself from the brutality of the faction war, which is beautifully depicted during the Pandaria expansion, and Anduin just shadow mind controls him. Now, for the lore nerds, it seems a bit of a blooper that Anduin, the light poster boy, he can suddenly mind control someone, which is a shadow-based spell. But let me tell you why. This is actually canon for Anduin, because the light answers to conviction. You can be the most evil motherfucker in the world, but if you have that drive, that power, like an Argent Crusader or even a Scarlet Crusader, the light will answer to you. So, in the same guise, so will the shadow. So Anduin is so driven that he can do both at this moment in time, and he can switch back to the light without suffering from any particular side effects. But let's move on.
It's raw, dark shit that you can have. I just don't get it. Look, this is all based on the idea that talking about anything bad in your life is pussy shit.
We don't play a game to listen to people talk about bad things that happen in their life, especially since we've seen it. We've seen all the shit Anduin has done. Oh, kill this guy, kill that guy, kill that other guy too. Now cosplay as Arthas, and now get me the Infinity Sigils. Oh, you have all the Infinity Sigil, nothing the fuck happens for it. We've seen what happened, okay? It's a shitstorm.
You know what I mean? It's based through a masculine take that,
It's not base, it's not red pill either.
like, you have to always be fucking hard all the time. Like,
No, Anduin was the opposite of hard, and I just praised the fuck out of him. Anduin is a beautiful character who puts conviction and his drive to do good at the forefront of who he is.
like, you know what I'm saying? It just doesn't... It's just clear that there's like a lack of nuance, and the claim that the game's lore has always been, or used to be rather, simple and not about cosmic stuff is just like,
Not simple, layered. That's how you tell a good story.
not really true. I think Asmund just wants to distance himself because of the nostalgia and the constant reminder to himself that he's aging, but that's just me.
Just pulling things out of your ass, Pyro. Like, make a real argument, maybe?
I mean, or Asmund just processes like emotions and stuff differently and doesn't see the value in...
Bro, what are you saying? Why are you making shit up?
that type of storytelling, perhaps. I mean, it might be that he just doesn't really... I mean, he seems relatively emotionally stable to me. So, you know, perhaps for him it doesn't hit as deep or something. Not that you have to be emotionally unstable for it to hit. I just mean it's easier to relate to, I think, when you can relate, you know,
Who the fuck relates to Shadowlands Anduin? Who has had Super Satan just snap his finger and turn you into his mind control slave? Like, there's nothing you can relate to. You can relate to Arthas, because desperation drives you to terrible decisions. You can relate to Mists of Pandaria Anduin. Like, let me just say that how Anduin's story should have ended, and I will be really controversial here, it should have ended when Anduin is at the end of his boss fight, 1%, and everyone is saying like, oh, you're saved now, Anduin, we beat the evil out of you, and Anduin just sheds his armor, he drops his blade, and he says, no, you didn't do anything, my friends. I am not here. He opens his eyes, and it's his normal blue eyes, and he says, I'm not here because I was mind controlled. Not fully. I was here because I wanted to do good. I was here because the afterlife of Azeroth is hell. This world is a prison. I had to team up with Sylvanas because I understood that no matter how you live your life, if your soul gets sent to hell regardless, and it gets ground into soul dust to make weapons for citizens of the afterlife, and if you have a small chance, you end in another place that brainwashes you, and you end in another place that makes you a disgusting, rotten undead that has to use a giant finger for legs, and it's horrible. We have to separate Azeroth from the Shadowlands. Like everything we believed, the light as an afterlife, the troll and orc ancestors, the Loa, it's all lies. We die and then we are ground out of existence, our lives meaning nothing at all in the significance of the cosmic balance. And I understood this. I saw the jailer's point of view and I agreed with him. And I decided that the system must be broken. The Shadowland Titans need to be toppled. And that would have been an amazing fucking storytelling, okay? It would have been the modern Arthas. It would have been a man driven to do good. All of his life was put before a situation where to do good, he must do terrible things. And this would have validated Sylvanas, this would have validated Anduin's actual PTSD, because now is actually in character, is actually in self as he commits these atrocities, that he has to keep telling himself, this is for the greater good, Anduin. By killing these people, I'm actually saving not the people that I'm killing, but I'm saving everyone else. Even though I be damned, I am doing more good than I'm doing evil. This would have been a powerful storyline, and it would have probably salvaged the expansion. But of course, we cannot have Anduin do any of this, because that would have been the character belongs to the Blizzard IP, and Blizzard says, no, this character cannot retire, cannot die, cannot be evil, cannot be morally controversial, just poor PTSD boy. That's awful storytelling. But let's finish this, guys.
When it's like something relatable to you, you know?
This is
Which
not
I think
relatable.
it's why it's really good to see some of the responses coming from like the Calling short story, because you're getting people who are, you know, having a moment to kind of like forgive themselves maybe a little bit, for some of the things that they've done, and like this shit can be really meaningful for people. And I think that it's kind of like
nothing
the
to
chud
forgive
internet
himself for.
bravado to pretend like that's lame and that you don't care.
Did he just say
And
chud?
I hope that they will lean a little bit more into that once we're into midnight. I think it's gonna get pretty dark again. People are gonna have to face some pretty fucked up shit.
I hope it's gonna get
And some
somewhere.
of people's greatest fears are gonna be turned against them. So it's gonna get dark. Trust me. But you're gonna if you're gonna act surprised when you find out that bringing allies and having friends to fucking help you against the darkness, if you're gonna act surprised when that ends up being the fucking case, then I don't know what to say. Right, a lot of this is I think it's gonna hopefully be more about introspection and overcoming your own internal darkness and showing how sometimes this isolated behavior where you can never talk to anyone about it and you can't bring it up because that's not the manly thing to do.
Alright, let me just say, Blizzard tried introspection, quote, so many times. It's never worked. The thing with Sylvanas, good soul, bad soul, high health soul, banshee soul, is a freaking mess. Nobody liked it. Not even the best Sylvanas stance on Twitter liked it. Everybody hated it. Insert the meme right here. Everyone hated it. Blizzard at the moment seem pretty much incapable of this profound existential introspection. They just cannot do it. They have to blackwash, whitewash. In the same expansion, they give Arthas the childish send-off. Oh, go away, you little disgusting blob of undead spittle. You're a piece of shit. And Sylvanas just stands there and calls Arthas names, and everyone just blaze back and goes, yeah. How's it going? Yeah. And Arthas gets that send-off. But Sylvanas is like, oh, you really didn't mean it. Oh, we can give you community service in the mall. You just fetch some souls and that's so awful, man. That expansion.
It destroys people. It fucking destroys people.
Yeah, it destroys people who read these shitty stories. It fucking destroys them. Agreed, 100%.
I'm hoping that it does get a little grungy or a little darker again. And I understand that some people want more
we
of that.
agree. We do.
But
really
things
do
are not
need
always
that.
like that.
They should be.
Things are not always like that.
They could be.
In games, you have
Things are not always good. Yeah, they could be told in a satisfying way, and then we wouldn't be here complaining about them.
heroes. You have the light. Like you have like that exists in every game. Some games are a little more subtle about it or a little less Disney-fied about it, which like I said, I think Amir Drasil's cutscenes are a little Disney, okay? I'm not going to deny that.
Yeah.
I watched some of them, I cringe a little bit,
Yeah.
especially the Calicos part. I'm not going to deny that.
Okay.
But I see the value in what they're trying to do.
Yeah, but they have to
And
do
so
it right.
I'm able, I would look at it and I give it a nuanced take to say, I get the core, what they're going for, and I think it's good. Maybe the execution wasn't great. But on the other side here, we have, it's just bad. It's boring. It's
Yeah, if it's boring, people have to say it's boring. The people will say it's boring. They aren't out here to get cheap shots at something they do not care about. When people say it's boring, it's because they feel it. They say this story doesn't relate to me. This story tells me nothing. This story feels preachy. This story feels contrived, artificial, not fun to listen to. And their criticism is very valid.
it's sissy shit.
Yeah, sometimes.
WoW died with Arthas? No. WoW died with that sexual harassment lawsuit because
Cataclysm, Mr. Pandaria were still very WoW expansions. My opinion, I may expand it some other time, is that WoW died with Legion, okay? The biggest cosmic menace in the entire game, reduced to a petty little tiny band of incompetent red guys. It kind of killed the vibes, let's be honest.
I feel like that
Spaceship, like it feels like an invasion of green Protoss. Oh man. don't. Oh, glass holes were very cool because they had a lot of messes here. They had a lot of strong points, but also they sacrificed so much for that. Anyway,
Made them too gun shy from doing anything that is like reminiscent of the old WoW.
I get where he's coming from with that, but... And I think, as I've said before, I think the opening cinematic for Dragonflight was just kind of like tough, you know?
yeah. Honestly, I hate to just pile on something, but the opening cinematic of Dragonflight, I watched it live. I get a friend like, oh, you have to watch this, it's WoW expansion. It was like a ritual for us, okay? WoW expansion trailer comes out, we go and we watch it, and this was like, oh my god, this shit is boring! Who cares about this stone guy? Who cares about him falling in slow motion? We've known him for 30 seconds total. It's just some stupid stone guy. And everyone on the internet was, oh, Stony Tony, Stony Tony, Stony Tony, so wholesome. Oh my god, shut the hell up. This is an expansion trailer. You have your chance to make something that catches, that grips the audience, that picks the audience, and it shakes around and it says, this is World of Warcraft. You have to play it. We have Mr. T playing it like 20 years ago. Now we have you playing it. Play fucking World of Warcraft. It's cool, it's epic. And we have this stone guy just moving in slow motion, and he climbs a tower, falls, and then the dragons, it doesn't even make sense, because the dragons up to 3 minutes ago they were chilling in Wyrmrest, but by the time the stone guy falls, they all into the Dragon Isle. Then they start doing backflips in the air because, I don't know, it's scenic or something. It's just bad, okay? There is no fight, there is no, it's just bad, sorry.
Oh, I think it should have been a little more gritty, a little cooler with the dragon stuff. Like, they're regal and they're grand, and that's all cool, right?
Yeah,
like,
but make them
I think
blow some fire or something.
Kind of like a non-start. Like, for some people it was interesting, for those who care about the dragons. And I think that in this way, like, when you compare this to like the Warlords of Draenor opening cinematic or the Legion opening cinematic, like, they're very different, right? They're very different.
Yeah.
And so I will concede that there are definitely portions that are like, what are we doing here, right? Is it enough to make the statement that it is the direct result of the lawsuit stuff?
Possible.
I think that it is
It really feels like World of Warcraft, following that huge shitstorm during the COVID period, really, really, really softened up. Like, they said, we have to make ourselves look as harmless as possible. We have to produce nothing at all which can be used against us. We have to change every quest, we have to change every portrait, we have to add more fruit, less woman, we have to censor transmogs, we have to retcon dialogue, we have to retcon quest lines, we have to clean the hell out of our house, because we have a lawsuit over our head. Garrosh is calling Sylvanas a bitch, sing the red alarms, have Danuser kick Garrosh, make him stop calling a bitch, defend the poor Banshee queen, undead queen, reanimated humans with Valkyrie. Yeah, she may be an atrocious second Lich King, but you can't just call her a bitch, okay, Chad? And this is what Blizzard post-lawsuit and even a bit pre-lawsuit, because let me tell you, Blizzard knew the lawsuit was coming, okay? No company wakes up one day and say, oh, by the way, you have a lawsuit in your mail. No, that doesn't happen. There are proceedings that employees must actually go through, and the CEO and the management actually knows and understands that the employees have strong gripes, and these gripes are not being answered, which will likely lead into a lawsuit. So Blizzard knew, Blizzard started cleaning house, because if you go to a trial and then some guy pulls out some questionable quest line, and they say, yeah, see, there is a joke here about Garrosh. He calls male blood elves, like he had this thing where if you finish the blood elf quest line way back, probably was changed, probably I can't even imagine what kind of person you find when you go to Orgrimmar for the first time as a blood elf. I don't even want to think about it, but you used to find Garrosh, and Garrosh was like, oh yeah, I'm really happy, but your skin a little crack, but you're a female, right? And he will call you a female even if you were a male blood elf. Like, that was funny. There was just a little quirk of meat-headed Garrosh who just see this scrawny blonde little thing, and he goes like, yeah, you females are pretty okay, now you're part of my horde, go and toughen up, go kill some alliance for me. And I bet that this was removed, but like this, dozens of other things were removed that, in the context of a trial, could have been some very bad PR for Blizzard itself. Anyway,
reasonable assertion to say that had some effect on things, yes.
I guess.
But is it the reason? No, probably not. No.
Anyway, guys, I'm quitting here. I've rambled long enough. I hope like one or two people have actually enjoyed my perspective. I may do more. I will probably cut this video. I'll probably try to make smaller segments. But the moral of the story is that, yeah, World of Warcraft needs to find its own heart again. It needs to find some grit in its story. We have spent years softening down, okay? It's time we pick what remains and try to make a storyline that is full of action, that is compelling, that shows people at their best and at their worst. It needs to be a storyline that everyone, that maybe does not relate to everyone, but let me tell you something. No story can relate to everybody. If you are marketing a game towards 100 million players, you cannot write a story that satisfies 100 million readers in the same light, because people are different. You have to find some common denominators that are thoroughly enjoyed, but generally you have to tell the story that you want to tell, and that is the only way that you can keep being honest with yourself and that you can produce a good story. Because the moment you try to produce a story not for what you want to say, but to please the audience, that is the moment where your story gets bad. That is the moment where your franchise dies. Thanks for tuning in, friends.